hear me properly. So forgive me if my voice will break at a certain point, because this is the maximum I can talk today. Yesterday there was nothing. So imagine my happiness to know that I'm a speaker with no voice. So, okay. As Melanie was saying, what we are going to present today is what happened now that we're all talking and we are all using generative AI tools, and we hear that a lot around what's happening and how it is changing the way we design user journeys, customer journeys, and everything that we've been doing so far in the usual way, the way we studied at school and so on. But before we dive into that, who ever heard about generative AI and LLM and knows what that is? Raise your hand. All right. Who wants to explain what an LLM and what generative AI is? No one? So let's hear it from ChatGPT.
Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that creates new content like text, images, and music by learning from data. A large language model, LLM, is a specific type of generative AI that generates human-like text. For example, LLMs like ChatGPT can write stories, answer questions, or even compose emails. Besides me, there are other LLMs like Claude, Gemini, and Llama. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. So now we're all on the same level. So we have the same type of knowledge. To take out this very simple text and speech out of ChatGPT, I spent 30 minutes telling him what he needs to say, what's the audience, how simple it needs to be. Don't use too much engineering words and so on. And at the end, this was the result. I don't tell you how the recording and the screen recording of this was. But what's important is, have you been using it? And this and other tools and every other thing. And this means that probably you also been participating on other talk where they explain how you can improve the way of working using GenAI tools. This is not what we're going to do today. So I'm not going to explain another tool to improve the way of working, but most of us probably are designers. Or we are product owners, we are engineers. What happens when we need to design a product that is solely based on GenAI? And it's not going to be just the next chatbot that we've been seeing in a little right corner of a web page. Of course, sometimes it's new experience or not, but there's a new generation of experiences that are rising and that are emerging. And as you know, generative AI goes beyond automation. It's not something that it's automated. As we heard from ChatGPT, it's about prediction. What is the next best thing that can happen, or the best next word, best next pixel that I can put after the one that you asked? And when we, just properly, we can create new user journeys. We call these new experiences as a new category, cognitive experiences, because these are more human-like experiences. So they are able to understand what you're asking, make predictions, and maybe give suggestions. So they're not just reacting to an input in a way that was already programmed. So you don't know if what they are going to take out when you ask to have a card for your daughter's birthday or anything else. And sometimes you don't even know if what it's saying is actually true or real. So that's also, we have a lot of artifacts that we need to be careful with. We have new products that are emerging completely based on that, like Apple Intelligence, when it will arrive to Europe, or other products that we've seen that gave us a lot of hope, like the AI pin and this baby right here, that I still have in the box since I received it, opened it once, not working, and then it's still there. That's a good investment. The other good investment was actually Duolingo Max. So let's see in a couple of months if my German will improve with a very Nice, Lily. But what are the key characteristics of this cognitive experience? So traditional experiences, we know. They are already designed. They are based on commands. You need to deploy probably 1 or 2 different paths, and all the users will use that. Then you have the same UX UI for everyone, unless you can personalize a little bit. And there's a predefined interaction model. What happens when we talk about cognitive experiences? They are trained. So you give them data, you give them information, and they learn from that. Intent-based, so when we talk about intent, is the actual intention of the user. So you set a sum of them, and then can learn and create other on top of that. So you need to, this is actually the starting point where we start designing also from the intent. Generated in real time for each specific user. So each user will have their own path most of the time based on the service or the experience that you're designing, and probably also different goals. Personalized UX UI, it's a big thing. It's not really like that. So you have the sign system, and then maybe you have some parts that appear for a user, some parts for others, and it's a fluid interaction model. So, sorry. Yeah. What is going to happen is that we will do less and less user journey mapping, and we will do cognitive experience. We call it mapping, but it's not really mapping. What is user journey mapping? We have our users, starting point, a series of steps to reach a goal. This is a very simplistic way. When it's more complex, you have more starting point than maybe already go into some of the steps of the user journey. Cognitive experience. We did an RFP, like we answered to a tender some weeks ago about one of these cognitive experiences. So it's a voice interface with for an in-car experience, and it's based on intent. So we didn't put any user journey mapping into it, because what happens is that these are all your point of entrance. So a user can start a conversation with a car or with any service in any way possible. It doesn't mean that the path will be the same. Sometimes it goes back, sometimes it goes already reaches the goal with the first thing they said. And the goals can be different. The outcomes can be completely different. So what you need to be doing is understanding what all these starting point can be, and how can we make sure that we can make the user reach the goal from each starting point. And you start mapping that. It's very complex, so I'm not going to explain exactly how it is, because we are in the progress of doing it. So we started last year designing cognitive experiences, and we keep learning about that. So at this point, we have a lot of concepts, and only, I think, few of these concepts are actually becoming products. Not every client, every other colleague that we heard from want to jump on this train at this moment. And that's why we try to understand how we can improve. What we did is that creating this customer journey, as I said, it's not very easy. You're not creating a mapping, but what you need to understand in order to understand what are these, what will be the result, you need to give this experience a sort of a personality. So imagine you are creating a person. It's not even a chatbot that you just give a tone of voice or anything. You need to understand what are the different characteristics. And we started mapping out what could be, thinking on the entire experience. And we created the cognitive experience compass. On this compass, we have opposite parameters in every of these axes, and we start from specialized or versatile. For example, specialized, we have Sora. So always from OpenAI, but this is specialized on videos, creating videos. While ChatGPT, at this moment with the 4.0, you can basically ask everything, any topic, unless you have your own GPT and so on. So it's very versatile. They can be reactive or proactive. So they require your input, You ask a question and then you get an answer, or in some cases, they are proactive. Imagine Grammarly or Copilot. You're writing something and it gives you already the suggestion. You didn't even ask for that. User-facing or hidden, so you actually know that you're talking to something, that there's like an actual object or entity that you're talking to, or they're hidden. As I was saying, Grammarly. It's just there. Sometimes pops up with a suggestion and that's it, but it's still in the background. Empathetic or functional. So talking to a human, or basically I only need to have that specific thing done, that specific done completed. Humanized or abstract. So I'm talking to a person or something that resembles a person, or it's completely abstract. Our waves of Siri or Gemini. It's a little bit human because it's using natural language, but it's still not. And on this compass, we started mapping different services. And we realized that there is actually a polarization of experiences that you can have. And when we use this during workshops with our clients to understand, and together with them, what type of experience they want. Do you want to go more on the rational side, relational side? So something that you can actually create a connection with. It becomes a companion. So we are going on the side of all the companionship type of experience, or transactional. I actually need a tool to complete specific tasks. And when you see that when we started mapping, where you had arrows, but these are actually, you can have something that is a little bit reactive, but still more proactive. So it's not really one or the other. And that's how we use the compass. Of course, if you have more questions on that, we will have a question and answer session later. And you can also reach me out on LinkedIn. Yeah, you will see my contacts to ask and see how you can use it, and maybe we can also support you. But of course, cognitive experience has some drawbacks. So for example, hallucinations. Yesterday, it kept telling me that I could cut the video of the ChatGPT directly on Keynote. You cannot crop videos on Keynote. So I had to find a solution to that, and ChatGPT didn't help. So that was an hallucination. The moment I tell this is wrong, oh yes, you're right. Here's the other solution. And it gave me the right solution. But when are you going to know if it's right or wrong? Until you try it. Usability challenges. So the UI is constantly changing, and some users might be overwhelmed on the fact that they access the experience on a certain way, and then the next time it's different. Privacy issues. So we've been seeing right now a lot of talks about that. Slow response time. So based on the power of the LLM and the engine behind, it might take a long time to create answers. And depends on the type of experience you want to provide. Maybe that's a problem. And the cost of that. So the entire cost of it can be extremely expensive, or actually can be reduced. But it's something that you need to consider. In some cases, we had also very bad experiences. So we had high hopes, and what happened is that we actually gave material to content creators. They gave material to content creators to do videos. But how can we generate actual value? So what we realized is that cognitive experiences and this type of intelligent experience can help us working better when you have an entire ecosystem. So what happens to the existing touch points? Of course, we are considering right now environments, digital touch points, and frontline employees. Imagine a bank, you are talking to someone when you go there. And of course, the user is always in the center. Cognitive experience can help us augmenting these touch points, so making them smarter, supporting, augmenting the environments with augmented reality, for example. Digital touchpoints, augmented app that have GenAI in the background, or employees that are quicker and the way of working has been improved and is more effective. So for example, when we talk about app, this is something that we've been working a lot since last year, travel agents. Everyone, and travel disruptions also. So in this case, you're actually planning a trip. But in another case, we supported the service people to give proper answers to the users when there was a disruption. In another way, we can replace these experiences. So there might be some services, some environments, digital touchpoints, and frontline employees that, of course, can be completely replaced. And when we talk about, we have an example for replace environments. So imagine you immersing yourself with the Apple Vision Pro. We saw that it's possible, very expensive, but that's the next challenge. You can completely change the space and immerse yourself and isolate from everywhere. But the most important thing and the most interesting one is orchestrating different touch points and different ecosystems. So imagine a big client, like insurance company. Insurance companies now, they don't just have insurance products. They have banks, they have healthcare, they have hospitals, they have, you can rent a car. Basically, you can have all life managed by an insurance company and not know that. But what they have is also a very big complexity, because all these brands have probably been acquired from the past, like already existing company. They have their own systems, they have their own APIs. It's a mess. Every time we talk about integration, it's like 2 years of integration, or it's not going to work. You try it and then you leave it. So imagine you have this big customer, you have the user, different brands and experience. But why, if I am still a client of, let's say, Unipol in Italy? Give me an example in Germany. Allianz, yeah. Or Allianz. I'm a client of Allianz, and I know that that company, that brand is owned by that. Why do I need another account? That's the easiest example I can make. So, in the past, still happening, you have this big idea of connecting all these brands together. So, of course, you have different type of front-end, conversational, graphic UI, immersive experience in some cases. You define the user journey, as we said also before. There are processes that have to be mapped and programmed in the backend, integration layer, and then maybe you can access all the other services, maybe. When we think about experience orchestration, the user journeys become the orchestration layer. So it's the moment where all the inputs from the user, you decide where they need to go. The workflow is fluid because you can have different entry points, as we saw, and different goals, and specialized fluid workflows. So this is connection. How do we do that? Agents. So you can have specific agents for each of the different services that are interrogated by the orchestrator agent. So you have like a mastermind, let's say ChatGPT, that goes to its little GPTs that are specialized on something. I don't know if you've been using the GPTs on ChatGPT, or you know what they are. It's very little portions of ChatGPT, or ChatGPT trained for a specific task. I have the one, it's called Planty. It's very cute. It's only for plants. You take a picture of the plant and it tells you what's the problem, if it's healthy, and so on. What is usually the problem with plants? Oh, it can be overwatering or less water. Thank you so much. That's it. But imagine you have this, and you can have one for each of the services, each of the brands, and you don't need an integration layer. Right now, this is still theory. We are actually working on that with some clients. We will get to the result at the end. Who knows? If you will find the use case on our website, maybe you can tell them, yeah, we did it. But right now they're investing a lot on this. And this is a quicker way to achieve what they haven't achieved in the past 10 years, basically. But this is like the example I was saying, like you can have a chatbot, the simplest thing that connects all of the services. So you ask you booked a trip. Okay, you booked a trip. I give you the suggestion for the insurance for the trip. Do you need also a car? I own the hotels. Here is this discount, and so on. But You also need to know when you need to use cognitive experiences. Because yes, when should we augment an experience or replace or orchestrate? So these are the things that you need to consider, and to augment, will this make valuable the experience? Will this make it, it's opposed to having just a normal interaction with a machine, for example, when we augment a person. Replace, what makes the interaction with a machine valuable? Okay, I gotta change that. Well, it's fine, but that's the point. Like, you always need to consider, and in some cases, you don't need it at all. Some clients come to us, oh, I want to do something with the generative AI, everyone is doing it, or the same way as it happened for the metaverse. How many services that we have in the metaverse that everyone is using right now? Do you really need it? Once we went to a client that we suggest, oh, you know, we have these cognitive experiences, we can understand if you have it. Like, my business is actually cigarettes. I don't need someone to replace the tobacconist. Like, people go there, get the cigarettes, and that's it. So there's no actual experience. Or think about clothing. You go to Prada, you don't want to talk to an AI. You want to be served. Like, I'm paying a lot, I want the service. So try to understand if it actually makes sense to replace. This is just one small example, but that's the most important thing. It's not all about generative AI. It can improve or not. And I think that was the last part of it. I hope I was in the time and you could hear me clearly. Here's my contact on basically my LinkedIn page. You can reach us also on the Spark Reply website. If you have more questions, if you want to dig deeper into that, just drop me a line. Or it's a moment for questions now.